Hello, it's Sunday, July 26th, about 11 o'clock in the morning. We're in one of Lodi's older vineyards. These are McCay Zinfandel vines on the west side of Lodi's McCay River AVA, where the soil is pretty much a sandy loam, fairly rich, but extremely well drained and deep. Okay, we're with Mike McCay and his son Matthew. Mike, tell me about these plants. When were they planted?
Right now, according to the family, we're looking right around end of 1930s to early 1940s. This vineyard was planted actually in two different times, about 15-20 years apart. We're on the south side, which was the original planting of the Zinfandel. It is west side. I've actually been out for the last couple of days looking at maybe about a dozen different Zinfandel vineyards and other varietals, and this to me seems to be have the most sugar. It's a little early to be taking the test for bricks right now, but looking at some of the seeds, some of the meat in there, I'm going to guess we're July 26th. I'm going to say we're probably somewhere between 16 and 18 bricks.
Okay, so you could conceivably be picking this in, within a month or so.
I would think that this is set up right now for probably right around September 1st,
Yeah. One of the earlier ripeners.
It is, and that we see that it's from our vineyards through the McCay AVA. The vines or the vineyards are kind of in a half crescent moon shape through the AVA, and usually we go into the west side first.
Mm-hmm.
We have another vineyard over here, Contention. Usually is one of our first Zinfandel vineyards we picked. And looking at that yesterday and over here today, I'd say this is maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 days ahead of Contention.
Now, why is that? Now, why are some Zinfandel vineyards picked earlier in September and then some you need to wait to the middle or even late October?
Two big things. One's going to be pruning. How you set back in January, February when you prune the vineyard, what kind of crop load you set, and just that, what crop load is on the vines. What are they handling? I know that Phil Bonato here, he's watering about 2 to 3 times a year. Very short too, not a lot of water. Having vines that are not stressed out, which these aren't stressed out. They're really pretty darn happy right now. You can see, but they aren't pushed over the top. I call them gorilla Chewbacca vines, where they're all hairy and got a lot of.
Oh no, these canes
canopy.
are very moderate in size and length.
They are, and I like what I see here right now. I like where it's farmed, and I think having that crop set that's not over the top. Looking at these vines and getting a feel, I'm going to say we're probably around 3.5 ton, 4 ton here per acre, and these vines have been around for many decades. They can handle that, and they're happy, and they're getting a great season right now. We're getting that low 90s to last night it was 57 degrees, and we're getting a nice balance in the weather right now, which is just letting these vines be happy and move right along.
So what do you look at when you look at these clusters then?
Well, this is our first year into this vineyard and working with this vineyard. We actually weren't involved in the vineyard when it started through back in January for its pruning. What we're looking for is, one thing you pointed out, Randy, is nice small canes, not over the top, not big antennas coming out. I will talk with Rich. This is a perfect example right here. We've got some clusters here that are really coming along nice, and then right behind it, we've got some that aren't. So we're going to have to come through here and do a little bit of aeration thinning and drop stuff that's not evenly matched as far as development or maturity in the vines. So the vine will still keep working on these, which would rather have them put their energy into the balanced cluster than these hard green clusters that are definitely way far behind the second crop. And I'm not a big fan of second crop. I'm going to pull it off and concentrate on what we're after, and that is these puppies right here.
So this green one is what you would call a second crop, and it's probably not usable.
Not usable. Some guys might, but we don't. We're not going to go after that at all. We're not going to come through and try and fool around with that. There's some shoulders here I see. Not a lot of work, just sending a crew through here and clean these up and get them ready for a month away and harvest.
Great, thanks. Hey, Mike, they always talk about hens and chicks for Zinfandel.
We just talked about the green berries on the shoulders that we want to take off. There'll also be the size of the clusters. We want uniformity in the vine on all our cluster size. So once again, we have the vine, the fruit ripening all at the same time. So sometimes you'll see clusters and vines where here's a cluster. These are all very similar in size. And then you have a cluster back here that is very elongated, all different sized berries. You've got this big giant berry here, next to you a little small berry. So you're gonna get a real mix of flavors in there. And if we're looking for the fruit to come out of this vineyard and be balanced all the way through, this is not something we're gonna want in that.
All right, but this is actually typical of Zinfandel, right?
It can be very typical. You can have things like jacks in there too. These little green, this is actually the berry that didn't develop. And
it didn't develop a seed, right? So.
It didn't develop seed, so it didn't develop into a berry. And there are producers, and I'm certainly not going to pull out all these clusters when you go for harvest. You can't do that. There are certain flavors and characteristics that come through Zinfandel that are inherent to this style cluster. But I assure you, if we made a whole batch of wine out of just these, probably wouldn't be the best Zinfandel. So we're looking for more balanced the fruit in there, just to have that profile. If we're looking for a pepper style Zin, a red racy red fruit Zin, or deep dark sinister, we want the clusters and the grapes as they come into the winery to be consistent and very similar.
Great. Okay, we're in another vineyard. Mike, where are we?
We're actually in the second Bonato vineyard. The first one was over off Sargent Road. This is up off Dervies, part of the original Spanker Ranch dating back to the turn of the century. Looking at these vines, and Rand, you and I just discussing, they look like they're own rooted, much different profile in the structure. There's a little bit more of goblet pruning here, meaning that you're going to train the vine up a little bit and make like a wine glass, like a wine goblet, where arms come out. Being an older vineyard, you can see some of the arms have grown through that goblet pruning style. But if you look predominantly around the vineyard, you'll notice that perfect examples right here, where you can see that this was trained more in the goblet. The canopy here is really muted. By that I mean the canes are very short. Granted, this is a very stressed old vine here. If we look out in the vineyard across the top of it, you can see you don't see big long canes by any means. The canes are going to be somewhere between 2.5, 3 feet in length. Nothing extending way out. So, love what we see here. We're hoping to make a little fruit out of this vineyard for the first time as the Bonato Ranch, the home farm.
You can also see where they still do furrow irrigating in this.
This vineyard does not have a drip system in it, so they'll pull these ditches. They'll run water through it. Once it's dry enough, they'll close them back up. Which I would look at the way things are here. Probably this week they'll come back and they'll disc us all back under, and be ready to go next time.
It's a funny thing. It's something we can still do here in Lodi a little bit, and this is one of those heritage vineyards that we have that no one hears about, because most of it still goes to one of those big wineries.
And look at this. And look at this soil.
All right.
Doesn't get much sandier than that.
Right.
So beautiful vineyard. Looking forward to working with this for the first time. A vineyard that's never had wine made on its own. It's always disappeared to big wineries and gone to big fermenters. So very excited about that.
And that's what's different about Lodi these days. Now we're finally starting to see some great wine from these vineyards that are kind of hidden.
Hidden gems.
All right.